Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Kellen here from Start Your Systems, and welcome to another MX vs. ATV Reflex custom track gameplay, where today we're going to be playing the DS19 Compound National Track, which was created, oddly enough, by Darkslides 19. Good little friend of mine from Reflex. He's talked to me and let me beta test a few things before. So he's kind enough to do that, and sometimes I'm kind enough to repay the favor, if you will, by playing his tracks in videos. And this track is pretty darn sweet. It's tight, it's technical, but it's also fast and has big jumps in some spots. So I really like the kind of range that this track has, I guess, where it's not just tight, technical, and ruddy. It's also got big jumps for big whips and stuff like that. By far my favorite thing about this track is the elevation change. It's not like it goes way up a hill then way down a hill or whatever, but it makes really good use, at least in my opinion, of the hills. And lots of like off-camber corners, lots of like flowing sections up into the trees and stuff like that. It almost looks like the track is built on an island. I don't know why I get that feeling, maybe because there's like a water river thing in between this track and what I presume is going to be like a second national track or a supercross track or something. I don't really know what's going on over there, but it just seems like it's kind of on its own little area location, which is cool, no biggie. But like I said, it's just in general, like a pretty good flowing track. I'd assume that, Darkslides is notoriously famous in his Reflex track building for creating bump models in this game, as well as I think some like terrain models, or I don't know. He also makes objects as well. But you can see all the bumps all over the track, which is not really what bump models are to my knowledge. It's more of like when the track breaks down, you see like smooth parts of tracks turn into rutted out, bumped out sections. And certainly that happens a little bit on this track, but he's also pretty good when it comes to creating a roughness that is rideable. And I feel like this track showcases that. It's pretty dang rough, to be honest. I feel like this track is a little bit comparable to the Komsomolsk on a Mur track that I did, which was created by Nick De Leon, and we did a track review 2 weeks ago now, because of how rough and bumpy that track was, and it was a little bit faster. Lap times were shorter, etc. But I feel like this track gives a little similar feel to that just because of how rough and rutted it is, which obviously, like I said, that track had gnarly amounts of it. Gosh, I did that last time too. I just totally lose track of where some of these corners are. What I did right there was carried so much speed that I just flat out jumped all the way off the track into I guess a free ride part of the track. Not sure if he released a free ride map of this or not. I'm just playing the national version because it's the one that was available for download. But it seems like there's more to this track than just the national track. Not too sure that's really the case, but I'm just assuming here. And if you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. So I'm going to stop doing that, and I am going to instead just play this track and try to do my best to ride it. One thing that I never seem to do very well when it comes to playing Reflex, especially when I come from playing Sim or even MXGP3 now, or basically any other game, is the ability to just turn my brain off and go wide open everywhere, which is what you can theoretically do in Reflex and what you should do to go fast in this game, but I always have a tough time with that. I always feel like I need to slow down and actually get into ruts and do weird little quirky things like that, and obviously it's not the case, because you can go pretty wide open through a lot of these sections of track and stay within the track boundaries fairly easily. So that's one thing that I've tried to work on. This track probably not the best to highlight that feature though, because realistically speaking, some of these corners pretty tight, and you're gonna have to use the brakes getting down into them, or else you're just gonna blow the corner, and that's not obviously the ideal scenario. But just doing a little self-criticizing, if you will. Gotta get better at this game at some point, right? Like, I've slowly gotten to a point where at least my videos aren't horrendous. Who am I kidding? They're very horrendous. But they're not as horrendous. And I like that a little bit more because something about you try to make a video, you try to show off the game. I feel like a lot of the reason why our earlier sim stuff was so successful on the channel was because Jeremy and I were both actually pretty dang good at sim. Definitely not the best, not saying like anything along those lines, but we both come from like race winning on the professional level background in sim. And people, I think, enjoyed that aspect a little bit because it was not refreshing, but just like they could learn, I guess, while watching the video instead of just listening to us talk. They could learn how to play the game as well. And with Reflex, you know, Jeremy was good, much better than me at Reflex, but he still wasn't quite as good as some of the other people I've seen. Like Darkslides, every time I talk to him, he always refers me to watching Merlin's videos, which that guy's pretty ridiculous. And then I know that TOGG or whatever, Tog or something, is also pretty good. I've seen a couple guys with YouTube channels that put down burner lap times in Reflex. And those guys, like, it's mesmerizing for me to watch them play this game because I don't really get it. And I've said the same thing before watching people play MXGP ATV Supercross Encore, which when I went to Rainbow Studios to play that game a year ago, they had flown this kid from France out. I forget his name, I really wish I remember what it was, but they'd flown him out to go to the Phoenix Supercross with them and kind of hang out because he was supposedly the best, you know, Supercross Encore player in the world. And I watched him play that game, and the things he was doing, the sections he was jumping, the speed he was able to carry, I picked up the controller and I'm like, well, at least, you know, in some sections I'll be able to match that. And I just couldn't even get close. Like, it seriously looks like I watch Merlin play Reflex or I watch this kid play Supercross Encore, and I swear they're playing a different video game. That's just how it looks to me because I don't quite understand how they do it. But I feel like on some level, that's like I said, that's what was successful about our earlier sim content, was because some people probably watched us, and I'm not trying to be like cocky about it, but I do feel that some people watched us just because we were good and not because we're entertaining, which, I mean, obviously we're not, but they watched because we're good, and that helped them, I don't know, learn, or just was something interesting to watch. Now, when it comes to watching sim videos, yeah, I'm okay at the game still. Not like, I'm still like a somewhat elite pro when I race and stuff. But you can go to YouTube and watch full race onboards with Jesse Mullins, and I think Tyson Fresquez posts things sometimes, and Hunter Root has his own YouTube channel. So like, all those guys are pretty much way better than me at sim on every level that you can imagine. And I can't compete with them on speed, but I try to compete with them on the jokes, you know, because why not? Like, you gotta have some jokes. Like when you say knock knock and someone says who's there, and you say interrupting cow, and they say interrupting cow, and you get halfway through that and you just say moo. Like, quality jokes, right? You gotta have them sometimes. Anyway, getting away from just sounding like a corny old dad, which I'm not yet. Yeah, this track is, like I said, pretty interesting. I like the way it flows. It's a tough track to get a flow on because of how quick the direction changes are and stuff like that. But once you get kind of used to the way it flows, I feel like it flows pretty well for like a small condensed little track. I like sections like that right there, which I totally messed it up, and I'll try to get it clean next lap, but he made it if you swung wide, you can just jump the whole section, or if you go down the inside, you go over the rollers, you know. Split lines are some of the cooler things that track creators do that make work, and I've seen some split lines look terrible and not work at all, and I've seen some that work really well, and that's when, you know, the gameplays are more fun because you don't have to take the same line every lap. Oop, tried to lay into that rut and it didn't work, so just plowed into a tree instead. I feel like I played a track pretty similar to this in Reflex before. I might be thinking about Sim, but I know I played... it was a track walk I did last year, right around this time. Track walk. It's a custom track gameplay I did right around this time last year. And it was on an island. I rode as Ken Roxon, theoretically. But I don't remember what it was called, but it reminds me of that track a little bit. Where it's, like I said, it's got an islandy look to it, where it's like you're tucked into the trees, kind of in the mountains, I guess, but there's also the water mass nearby. I need to freshen up my reflex setup a little bit. I've been running this Shift Blue Label gear for quite a while, and while I do look super fresh, hashtag East Coast grocery store chain, it is getting a tad old, I would say. You know, something I want to maybe change up a little bit, but with Reflex Central down and Darkslides not super updating his site, and just in general looks like people are kind of shying away from building new tracks and new things for the Reflex community. There's not that much available, but I'll do some digging soon. Probably talk to some Reflex experts that can point me in the right direction anyway. For now though, I do still look good enough that I don't feel like I'm too concerned with the way my setup looks. Oh, just get up over that hill. But this is like really straightforward track. I mean, I've hit several different lines already. You can see that it's not anything like overly special where you're gonna find something new every lap. Well, I guess you could, because you could take, there's like 4 lines literally in every corner, 4 or 5 lines. So you could do that and find something new and interesting that you were not able to find before. But I'm just saying, in general, it's nothing too crazily different about this track. I hope it comes across though at how like tight and technical the track is. Probably looks that way just because I'm riding like garbage. But it is a pretty tight technical track. So this is what I'm saying, you could go outside and just jump the whole section. That was like a cool little feature that he added that I just feel like I should have pointed out. Oh, scrubbing down. I did a 2:52.34 lap time, which the 2 and the 3.4 are unnecessary because I only need the 52 to match my number. Love 52. I don't know if I've ever explained why I like 52 before. Probably have in a couple videos, but just to reiterate, I ran 101 quite some time when I was younger. I was a Townley fan when he moved to the States, and so when he started running 101, I started running 101, and I ran that. That was like my, when I would race in real life, that was the number that I enjoyed using the most until maybe 2011, 2012. So I did that for 5-6 years at least, racing with that number. And then I just decided, Townley's pretty much retired at this point. Like, he raced GPs, but he wasn't really around that often. He was hurt a bunch. So it's time to kind of move on from the Townley train and find another number that I like. And it's honestly pretty dumb, but I just came up with the idea of, like, I grew up in this generation where we texted on phones that you had to press the 7 button 4 times to get to the letter S. And so I just decided, hey, like, my initials are KB, and on a weird dial-up phone like that, KB is 5 and 2. And so, kind of stupid like I said, but I like that number already. It was one that I thought was kind of cool looking. And so just to represent my initials, I went with the 5-2. And come to find out that there's a lot more connections to the 5-2 for me than just that. The first ever pro rider interview that I did for my own website that I ran was Ben LeMay in 2012, and he was number 52. And when I started playing Sim and getting involved in the community, which led to me working at Verb, which led to me running this channel, which led to me doing all sorts of stuff, the game creator, Josh Vanderhoof, had earned number 52 and was running it. And then, I mean, I kind of had totally forgotten, but the town that I grew up in San Diego, if you took Highway 52 from where it starts until the beach, It was like a 20-minute drive, so starts in my town, ends at the beach. Kind of a cool little connect. I don't know, just little things that made 52 kind of a special number to me in general. And so I've stuck with it from then, and I really like the number, and I don't plan on changing away from it anytime soon. But that's a little rant that I can continue to talk about another day. I hope you guys like this track video. If you did, please be sure to download it in the description. I always include the links, and I'm sure Darkslides will appreciate some fresh downloads on this track. And be sure to like, comment, and subscribe the whole 9 yards. And for Kellen here on Start Your Systems, I'll see you guys in the next video. So long for now.